the business of the bank. Well, all we need is a code base like that, and guy who's familiar with it could jump right into it and provide the hooks, the forks in processing for certifying creditworthiness, and we would just automate all the payments, of accounts. Your employer would his accounts would automatically insert the proceeds of your paycheck into your accounts, and from your accounts all your bills are paid. You rent an apartment, whatever. You just set it up at the Common Monetary Foundry that this payment is to be deducted from my accounts every month. You don't have to manually do any of this stuff. Just set it up, and it runs after that. So it wouldn't take very long to do it at all. The data centers exist all over the world. We could host it anywhere in each country. There's many places to do this, and the software is minuscule. I've set up in this mandate, I've set up default methods of determining de-escalated depreciation, very much like I've explained. Default methods of certifying creditworthiness are merely to determine that out of the income and expenses, a remainder exists, which indeed can afford to make the payments of any further prospective purchases. So all of that is readily handled in very, very little time. I mean, we're talking minimal logic. Probably the most imposing question would be to ask, well, how long will it take us to decide exactly what kinds of rates of depreciation and lifespans we want to apply to different kinds of property? Well, that's where people can really make a mess of their own fate, because if you wanted to bicker about fine points of calculations of depreciation, or you wanted to throw in the towel in it because you don't have second grade math skills, well, you're hopeless. Bickering is something that's not necessary, which is why I've developed default methods of determining depreciation. Now, generally, anything that's engineered, we know how long it should last under normal service life. We can say that we want to certify that somehow, or we want to just make some kind of rough process of categorization of if a house is built according to certain standards. That the contractor who produces the house has to certify that indeed it meets the standards, and therefore that kind of a house has a certain lifespan, and if it only lasts 25 years of the 100 years it's supposed to last, we make the contractor, liable for poor construction. And he was supposed to put 3 nails in the end of every 2x6 or 2x8 studs that were in the wall of that classification of house, and he only put 1. Yeah. So it falls upon him the onus of rectifying his own attempts basically to defraud the system. So we do need to protect ourselves from those things, but we have enough to immediately launch into this and to refine the simple things that mathematically perfected economy leaves open to the people of every country, county, state, city. We're free to decide how we want to determine the things that have to be determined, which are a proprietary determinant lifespan, is what I call it, rates of depreciation, and means of certifying creditworthiness. Those are the only 3 things that we might want to customize. And we have defaults in the immediate implementation that alleviate that we have to do this. You could say, for instance, that, well, my contractor, I talked to him on the telephone, and he thinks my house should last 100 years. It's already 40 years old. 60 years should remain, but I've taken good care of it. I think it should last 260 years. So we start out today just for the sake of getting this thing off the ground, and we say, all right, we'll even take your word for it, and we'll just refinance your remaining principal, which is only $2,000. We'll refinance it over 250 years instead of 60. You see, mm-hmm. And it makes no difference. You're paying 10 cents per year or $2 per year. It makes no damn difference. In the end, we're talking about fine points when it comes down to when you examine each of these situations. And I've modeled all this, So what happens is your neighbor hears that you refinance your house as if it's going to last 250 years, and he says, no way, man, I've been watching termites come out of your walls every year for the last 5 years, and you haven't done a damn thing about it. I'm turning you into the authorities. So he goes down to the Common Monetary Foundry and says, that damn Rob next door, man, his house is being eaten alive while he's in it. He's paying for it on a 250-year basis. Well, somebody comes out and does a termite inspection at your expense because, or at his expense if he's falsely accused you, and they determine, oh, holy crap, Rob's got a heck of a termite problem here, all right. Well, you're going to have to fumigate the house, but then we will give you the 250 years, or it's only going to last 5 more years, buddy, as far as we're concerned. So we'll refinance that $2,000 over 5 years, and instead of paying $2 a year or 10 cents a year or whatever it was, you're going to have to pay $20
a year.
A year. That's what it comes out to. I mean, it might have been $40 in this case, but but we're talking minuscule.
Compared to
what people don't realize is the phenomenal degree that the banking system is defrauding us out of our money. You see, all the cost is going to the banking system. You're talking about diddly. When you're talking about, well, what should my house be financed at? My God, buddy, you spent 4 days worrying about it, but you've been paying for that house for 20 years, and at the end of the 8th year, you actually finished paying for it under mathematically perfected economy. You're trying to decide how to determine nothing. Your debts are free. You're free of debt.
That'll be a good day now when people are like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's only right. It's just, see, people have to get beyond this as well. This is not a radical idea or something like that. It's merely what is justice. You have a falsification of indebtedness to the banking system. You have an unjustifiable, unwarranted, and unassented imposition of interest upon that falsified indebtedness. Neither one of them were ever the rightful property of the bank, and all the principal and interest, which should have been principal, should have been retired from circulation. It's exact mathematic resolution of justice. That's all it is.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems to work. Mike, let me ask you a question. If people are interested, where can they go to find out more information about this?
Well, probably the best thing to do for people who are inclined to listen, they could go to tnsradio.com and listen to my my program archives. My radio broadcasts are all online under the category Mike Montagne. So you go to tnsradio.com, TNS, that stands for Tir Nassar Radio. .com, and on the right-hand side you'll see a category of Mike Montagne. There's also a link to my personal web pages, perfecteconomy.com there. But those pages, while they address all this, are not organized as needs be for sustaining this further effort of this hosting this mandate for mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. So hopefully, if we can either get some funding or equipment donated to us to host this mandate, and we get it online in say a month or whatever, then people will have another domain to visit to to go and sign the mandate and to go viral with all this. It's one of the most powerful political tools that's ever been created, where people be able to go literally and collect signatures for the mandate with their own telephones. You can stand on a street corner and collect signatures from everybody that goes by, or out in front of the grocery store, the liquor store. You could hang out at the bar. But it's a lot to explain in a few words, but it's a very elaborate, extensive site. It's got over 100 tables in its databases. It's designed to sustain taking signatures at a rate of over 10,000 signatures per second. There's over 16 Atom feeds, blogs, forums, all kinds of tools for defending yourself. You have forms, for instance, that you fill out to submit to your local sheriff, your local courthouses, your district attorneys, and even to your bank to resolve the falsified debt to the banking system, apprising the bank of this mandate, that you're a signatory of it, that you have these sovereign rights as an individual, what you're claiming, and demanding to know on the spot what lawful consideration the bank ever gave up or provides to redeem their currency in. And of course the bank has no answer because it has made no such provision. Therefore you prevail and you record these incidents in the bank, and if the bank refuses to acknowledge your fulfillment of the promissory obligation by submission of a like irredeemable promise to pay, you get their names. They're guilty of treason. You can prosecute them in court. All damages where this mandate makes them liable for them. The sheriff isn't about to kick you out of your home if you're in foreclosure. You show them this piece of paper. You show them that you recorded on your phone. You went down to the bank and you submitted this piece of paper to the bank that the falsified debt has been. And this is why people need to understand this, so they can articulate this to the sheriff. The sheriff's in the same position that you're in. And so you explain that you've resolved this, but not to falsely commit the same kind of crime that the bank is, but to nullify their crime so that your debts can be refinanced under mathematically perfected economy, which we've given our government a certain date by which to comply, or they're null and void. They're no longer the recognized government of the country. So they have to do this within virtually a year from now.
Well, we'll just have to sit down and wait and see if they do it.
Well, we'll probably be more than waiting to see, because what'll happen is, with the powers of this mandate, people will go out and they will talk to the representatives, and if the representative opposes these things, they'll have their names. We'll have all these people. We'll have recorded testimony that they were in opposition, and they will be guilty of treason by the mandate. We are declaring all these different crimes of opposing the establishment of mathematically perfected economy and absolute consensual representation. Any opposition is treason. I mean, would you dare, if you were a banker, attempt to assert this when your only alternative is going to be to try the case in court, and in which case you're going to have to prove that you gave up lawful consideration, that the banking system itself gave up lawful consideration, which it never gave up, and you know full well it never gave up, and you're just going to make a fool of yourself in court if you ever contested this, and you're guilty of treason for doing so if you can't prove that you gave up lawful consideration?
Hey, look, before you have a go at me, I am on your side.
Well, but that's to the
If I
degree.
wasn't, I would be after that.
That's the degree to which this mandate seals all avenues of possible escape. It's a
Hmm.
formidable document. Believe me, it's a formidable document.